Sadly, about a week or so ago, we lost a staple of streetwear. The Hundreds closed their flagship Fairfax Avenue store, marking an end of an era. The Hundreds is one of the first brands to do streetwear as we officially know it to be today. And Fairfax Avenue was once the mecca of streetwear, where every kid with a dream and a fresh fit lined up for their latest drops. The Hundreds wasn't just a brand selling clothes. It was selling a lifestyle, a community, and an ethos that defined an era. But now, after decades of influence, the Hundreds has closed its legendary flagship location. How did we get here? And more importantly, does this not only signal the end of a staple brand, but the end of an era as a whole? Let's find out. I'm Nate the Great from TakeFlight214.com, and this is the dark side of time. The rise and fall of the Hundreds, and maybe an era as we know it. But before we get started, please take a second to stop and smash that like button for me. Liking and sharing these videos, believe it or not, even though we always say it, is the only way to get the YouTube algorithms to notice us and help us continue to grow. Another way of helping us is by stopping by our website to see if you see anything that you like. We've got hundreds of art pieces and apparel that appeals to any fan of the culture. But with all that being said, let's get to it. To properly understand the Hundreds, we have to go back to 2003, when a new batch of idealistic young kids all decided that they too wanted a piece of the pie that they had long been boxed out and away from. Two law school students by the name of Bobby and Ben had an idea to build a brand that reflected California skate, punk, and hip-hop culture with its raw, rebellious, and unapologetically independent attitude, all ingredients required for the official streetwear era. During the most pivotal time of the genre, their blog became just as important as their designs, giving fans a behind-the-scenes look into the culture that fueled not only their brand, but the movement as a whole. The brand started from humble beginnings, with Bobby making designs in his home office in a one-bedroom apartment behind the In-N-Out on Venice, and Ben cold calling boutiques trying to get them to carry their stuff. But their talent and hustle paid off, quickly gaining traction thanks to their unique perspective of blending nostalgia with contemporary street fashions. This wasn't just about wearing clothes, it was about being a part of something new and transformative. Meanwhile, in the late 2000s, there was a particular street that found itself becoming a hotspot for streetwear. Brands like Supreme, Diamond Supply, and Huff, all the brands that embraced this new movement, had their flagships on Fairfax Avenue, a now famous strip in Los Angeles known for all things of the culture. The street was central to music, art, skateboarding, and everything culturally relevant to the burgeoning fashion genre. It was the spot for any Cali streetwear brands looking to be taken seriously in the game. The Hundreds actually opened their first store in 2007 on Rosewood, not far away. They operated there for a few years, continuing to build their brand before relocating to the famed Fairfax in 2010. This was at the peak of the strip becoming the spot for streetwear. All of the most popular brands had a shop there at the time. Along with those other brands, the Hundreds helped turn Fairfax into a destination for sneakerheads, skaters, and hip-hop fans all throughout Cali and the world over. It wasn't just about shopping though. It was about experiencing the vibe of street culture from a first-hand basis. Throughout the late 2000s and early 2010s, Fairfax Avenue thrived. It was sort of a meetup destination for skaters, artists, musicians, and fashion enthusiasts all converged. Celebrities like Tyler the Creator and Jonah Hill were frequently spotted before and after becoming famous, amplifying the street's lure. In fact, Tyler used to just hang around the Supreme store before anyone even knew who he was. One of the most defining elements of the Hundreds was the Atom Bomb logo, a cartoon bomb character with a mischievous expression that became instantly recognizable as a symbol in streetwear. Whether it was through their blog, collaborations, or nostalgic throwback designs, the brand spoke directly to a generation that valued authenticity over everything else. Over the years, Bobby Hundreds took the brand to new levels, eventually writing the book It's Not a T-shirt about the rise of streetwear and expanding the brands into documentaries, events, and even food collaborations. The Family Style Food Festival is an annual event that celebrates the intersection of cuisine and culture, bringing together renowned chefs, restaurants, and streetwear brands. The Hundreds has been an active participant, collaborating with various food entities and offering exclusive merchandise and culinary delights. But just as the Hundreds reached its peak, the streetwear industry was changing. What was once an underground movement started shifting into luxury fashion. Supreme sold for $2.1 billion. Virgil Abloh's Off-White blended streetwear with high fashion. And suddenly, what was once raw and rebellious became commercialized and exclusive. For independent brands like the Hundreds, it was a challenge. The industry moved towards high fashion pricing, hype-driven marketing, and resale culture. The Hundreds tried to stay true to its roots, but the world around them, it was evolving. Many of the brands around Fairfax had come and gone over the years. Crooks and Castle closed in 2017. Last Kings had folded and closed up shop. Huff and the ever-present Supreme store closed in 2019. Diamond Supply in 2020. One by one, the legendary brands that once called a strip home started closing their doors for good. Fairfax, once the hottest streetwear strip in the world, started changing. As online shopping exploded and foot traffic dwindled, brick and mortar stores struggled to keep up. The very culture that built Fairfax was now consuming fashion through Instagram drops and online exclusives. But through all that turmoil, the Hundreds hung on. For the time being, that is. But then, a few weeks ago this year in 2025, they announced the closure of their flagship Fairfax store, marking the last of the OG streetwear brands throwing in the towel. At its peak, from the mid-2000s through the 2010s, Fairfax, which replaced Melrose Avenue as LA's most in-the-know shopping stretch, was one of the biggest streetwear hubs in the world, rivaled only by New York's Lower East Side or Tokyo's Harajuku district, highlighted by the Netflix show of its namesake. Today, if you stroll down the 3-block stretch by Fairfax High School, you'll still find a few remnants of what once was. The Gold Gods, Rip and Dip, and Heaven by Marc Jacobs, nestled amongst the area's original Jewish businesses like Cantor's Deli, and a few OG holdouts like Flight Club and Hall of Fame. Though the exact reason for the closing of the store is unknown, Bobby Hendricks explained in his Instagram story, saying, quote, "The truth is, we've been debating the shop's future for years, but we kept the faith that Fairfax will return. As one of the first ones in and the last ones out, we kept our promise to the block, to see this through, to finish what we started, and to give everything we got. And what an exciting journey ahead. The end of the beginning." End quote. The ending of the Hundreds flagship does kind of signal the end of an era, in my opinion. It really sucks that the last of the OG streetwear brands have now shut down on Fairfax. The last time I was in Cali was a few years ago, and I drove all the way from Orange County, where we were staying, to LA just to visit the famed strip. In between dispensary tourism, that is. But it was definitely a vibe. We've covered all of the original 2000 streetwear brands, going over exactly what led to the fall-offs, the Hundreds included. After going back and doing more early day streetwear brands, I get asked a lot, why don't I call brands like Karl Kani or FUBU or Fat Form streetwear? Well, that's because I don't consider the official streetwear era to have kicked off until 2005 or so. But streetwear as a clothing genre didn't start until brands like Diamond Supply, Huff, and the Hundreds came out, at least in my opinion. The Cross Colors, Rockaware, and Echoes of the world, I personally consider grandfathers or proto-streetwear brands. The Hundreds was one of the brands that I came of age with. It was one of the brands that I spent countless hours on Carmeloop hunting for. And one of the brands that I associate with the golden era of streetwear. And so for that reason alone, I do kind of feel like the closing of the flagship is an end of an era. At least in a manner of speaking. But what do you think? Hit us in the comment section and let us know your fondest memories of both the Hundreds brand and Fairfax Avenue. And if you made it all the way to the end and you enjoyed what you saw, please do us a favor and hit that like button for us, because that's the only way that the YouTube algorithms will pay attention to channels like ours and continue to help us grow. And if you want to be updated whenever we drop new episodes, then hit the subscribe button and then the notification bell. That way you can be reminded when each new video is released. But with all that being said, I'm Nate the Great from TakeFlight214.com signing out. Until next time. Peace.